Hi, so in this video I wanted to talk about how INFPs act when they're under stress, and especially psychological and emotional stress, because I think that INFPs are a little bit more vulnerable and sensitive to this type of stress than some other types just because of our nature. And this is just going to be my take on it and from my experience based on how I know I act when I'm under severe stress. Um, So obviously it might be different for other people, and there's going to be some variation even if people are the same type. So anyway, just take what I say with a grain of salt. So in general, I think that INFPs can act very, very out of character when they're under severe stress, just because, like I said, they're very sensitive people, and so even small things that might not necessarily bother other types so much, it might really set us off and stress us out. And kind of the main thing that I think happens is that INFPs turn into mini tyrants or authoritarians, and become very my way or the highway kind of people when they're under this type of stress. And it's very unpleasant for the INFP experiencing the stress as well as for the people around them, because for as nice as INFPs have the reputation of being, they can also be just awful, in my opinion and my experience. So, yeah, and like I said, they can be especially provoked by a violation of strongly held beliefs or the implication of saying an INFP is wrong in one of their like most important values or beliefs about the world. That can be especially triggering of this type of stress for INFPs. And an example of this, I've talked about Steven Crowder, who's an ENTP before, but there's this one particular conversation that he has with a German woman who she says that she was a journalist or worked in media over in Germany, and they're having a conversation about, well, there's no free speech in Germany. And she says, well, yes, there is. And he says, no, there's not, because there's people who are in jail over in Germany for saying certain things. She says, well, that's because it's hate speech. And so his point is, well, there's not free speech if people are in jail for hate speech. And she just can't understand this. She can't wrap this around her head that her country, that she says they have free speech, they don't, apparently. And she just gets very, very angry at him and gets just super, super flustered and tries to keep just stating the same thing over and over again, that, well, it's hate speech, it's not free speech. And she's not understanding his point. And because this is such a strongly held belief for her, because somebody is challenging it and telling her, well, this isn't necessarily correct, you're wrong, it's a very sensitive issue for her. And you can see how riled up she gets throughout the clip. So anyway, that's what happens when an INFP, when one of their strongly held beliefs is threatened a lot of the time. Just get responses, anger and denial and various things like this. And another thing that can happen is that INFPs, they start just acting slowly on their extroverted thinking, which typically isn't very developed and not very comfortable using, which just kind of further adds to the stress that we're under when we're in kind of this mindset that we're not comfortable with. It just makes us even more stressed, and it makes us become very hypercritical of ourselves and other people, and it becomes either perfection or failure. There's no in between when we're in this type of mindset, and it can often end up in focusing on small details when kind of the big picture is it's all a mess. We start just focusing on small things because that's something that we can more easily control. And I think that INFPs can be control freaks despite the fact that they have this kind of reputation of being a little bit laissez-faire, easygoing. I mean, it's true to a certain extent, but that's when we're able to control things that are important to us, and when we're not, that just goes out the window completely. So, and kind of a third thing that happens is when we're very, very stressed and very, very angry with another person, what can happen is INFPs use their introverted intuition to know how to immediately tear a person apart and to say the thing that will hurt this other person very, very badly. And this is kind of an automatic process that happens when we're under severe stress, I think. And it's not even, there's not a thought process that's conscious that happens from my experience. We just we just know what to say. And this is not good for anybody. It's not good for the INFP. It's obviously not good for the other person. And it can result in permanently ruining relationships. So it's really not good for an INFP to be that stressed out to where they're just completely not caring about how their words are going to make another person feel. They're just completely in, it's almost like survival mode, and it's as if it's this other person or it's me who's going down. And then they just know what to say to make the other person feel really, really bad and hurt them permanently, probably. So yeah, that's kind of a brief discussion, I guess, of how INFPs might behave when they're under stress. So from my experience and from what I've seen other INFPs do. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. And I will see you again soon, hopefully. Bye.